Monday, August 22nd. We are meeting in the G.A.R. room today. In attendance is myself, Gary, Simpson, and Stadinsky. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us. Out of fairness to everyone that's here today, I am going to recuse myself from tonight's meeting and exit the building. And Commissioner Gary will be chair for this meeting. Thank you.
See you, Jeff.
Take care, Jeff.
Good evening, everyone. We are holding the hearing this evening for the one malt package store license that is available in the city. We have 3 proponents for it. We are going to hear from all 3 proponents. They will be held as a public meeting. If anyone's here in favor, anyone's here against, they will have a chance to speak. At the end of each presentation, the commissioners will be allowed to ask questions, and then when we're done, we will end that portion of each session. After we've heard all 3 proponents, then the board will deliberate, and individual votes will be taken for each of the 3 proponents. If you have any questions before we get started, I'd certainly entertain those. Otherwise, that's the format for this evening. Seeing no hands, I will open up the first hearing. Number 1, hearing on the request from CM Petty Market Incorporated manager Kathleen Petty makes application for a change of category from a wine and malt package store license to an all-alcoholic beverage package store license at 216 Belmont Street, Brockton, Mass. The petitioner's here. Please come up and identify yourself for the record with your name and your address, please.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Attorney Mark Petty. I'm here with Kathleen Petty, manager and owner of Petty's Market. My address is 204 Belmont Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301.
Kathleen Petty, 152 West Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301.
Would you like to give us an overview of your plans, please?
Thank you, Commissioner. We're here today following up our recent ZBA meeting, which received unanimous approval for a change of category. Petty's Market, which has been present and established for well over 100 years. Indeed, at that one of the locations, which is still there on Belmont Street, has been there for over 100 years as well. We've been selling beer and wine since the late 60s, and as in addition to all sorts of products and taking care of the public, general public, from children to elderly, with a deli and groceries, and frankly, camaraderie for the whole community forever. We have a petition in to have expand the license to include all liquor, and it's really a result, as we talked about a little bit in the ZBA meeting, that so many customers come in for the other products and they request liquor, and so we'd like to make that available to the customer base. We've had no violations of any liquor, I should say, alcohol requirements, or we've fulfilled the requirements of the petition. We sent out, we've received no objections that we're aware of, and we're just happy to do whatever we can for the neighborhood and the city and continue on and continue to grow.
Kathy, anything to add?
I would say that's about all of it. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of demand, and we lose a lot of business because when we can't fulfill what they want, they put back what they have and they go where they can get what they need. So I'm just trying to stay alive. And everything's changing, you know.
Thank you. I'll open up the public hearing portion. Anyone here in favor of the petitioner? Anyone here in favor? If so, please give your name and address to the secretary, please.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Todd Petty, 17 Parliament Terrace, Brockton, Mass. Members of the board, those here, I can say after an 18-year period of serving on the Brockton City Council, I spent many hours in this room advocating for residents throughout the city. And I'm proud and happy to be here tonight as a private citizen, advocating for Petty's Market to be given a full alcohol license. The store has legendary time in the city of Brockton, and I think this now with the license would make the store thrive even more and give an opportunity for residents in the neighborhood to get where it is that they want. So I hope you're in favor of this granting this license.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Anyone else in favor? Anyone else in favor? Seeing none, I close that portion of the hearing. Anyone in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, I end that portion of the hearing. Members?
So I actually just went to your store earlier today before the meeting. The items that you sell now currently, are you planning on removing those items? I saw that there looked like one aisle that you were proposing for alcoholic beverage, all hard beverages. So,
What I want to do is have it on the wall behind the register.
okay,
And relocate everything that's there, so it won't be a self-serve.
okay. So it'd be that one shelf
The
behind
wall, yeah, the whole wall, we'll just
Okay.
rearrange and,
And currently, I saw that really the only parking was in the front of the building on, it's maybe like 2 spots. Is there any other parking in
Correct.
the back, rear?
no.
Any-
Most of our business is neighborhood walk-in business, that's where most of it comes from, other than during the day, the deli. That's when
Yep.
there'll be traffic out there, people just picking up lunch and going, it's
Okay.
in and out. But other than that, it's mostly walking.
Okay,
Kind of, some of the people in the know understand that we do own the adjacent properties, so we do have parking behind actually my office, and then a residential unit next to the store as well. So many times people do go over there and park in off-street parking. It's a little bit unofficial, but
Yeah.
we own the property, so we'll let it
Most-
happen, certainly.
Yeah, I would say that's mostly during deli hours, because that's when it's the busiest. At night, they're in and out, so,
Sometimes it's the police that know about that most, huh?
right.
I read here from Lieutenant Banaka that no issues and no objection from the police departments. I'm going to pass on asking any questions and moving on to the lieutenant.
That's correct. I conducted an inspection on the 18th. There were no issues, no complaints or violations at the location. The applicant explained to me where the additional product would be stored. No objection from the police department.
Any other questions? No? Thank you. As I said, at the end, we'll handle each one individually.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Next petitioner. Hearing on the request from Mayuri Sahil Corporation, DBA Debbie's Convenience and Deli Manager. Mr. Patel makes application for a change of category from a wine and malt package store license to an all-alcoholic beverage package store license at 516 Pleasant Street, Brockton. Time having arrived. Welcome, everyone. And I apologize for not trying to say that name, but
Can't do it myself.
I'd rather not offend anyone. So if you'd all state your names and addresses for the record, though, please.
Attorney Philip Nazrella, representing the applicants, 1063 North Main Street in Brockton.
Roshni Patel. The address is 516 Pleasant Street, Brockton, MA 02301.
This is Benjamin Patel from the owner of 516 Pleasant Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, and I'm the manager of the company, 516 Pleasant, Moli Kumar Panchal, 516 Pleasant Street, Brockton, Massachusetts.
Attorney Nazrella?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in representing the applicant this evening, I think there are a couple of very important salient issues that the board should be aware of in viewing this application. As you know and have looked at the location, it's located on a main thoroughfare, Route 27, Pleasant Street, on the corner of Wheeler Avenue and Pleasant Street. It is a convenience store that was purchased several years ago by the current owners and applicants, and it was introduced as a convenience store and beer and wine. Since its opening, it has developed an increasingly larger amount of clientele and customers who are looking for tobacco and alcohol in addition to other products. And in the last year or so, they have been confronted with the issue of where's the alcohol over and above the malt and wine. And they have lost a substantial amount of customers who go in to get the bread, milk, and then they go elsewhere to get the alcohol. And I don't think that's the concept of what we try to do when we give people a license and permission to have convenience stores. This was bought from Steve David, who developed it to a certain level, the beer and wine. I think that we have inadvertently clipped the wings of this establishment by not allowing them to work to the fulfillment of what it can offer, and that is the full alcohol license. There are no other stores of similar nature along Route 27. There are no other liquor stores in that area except if you get into Westgate Mall, which a lot of people don't like to drive in there, get cluttered up and try to get out again. So this would be a very smooth transition, and it would serve the community in that local area in particular by offering the full alcohol. There are two factors that I think are significant in looking towards a favorable resolution and vote to these particular applicants. Number one, let's take the location. It was initially over 2,000 square feet of retail space. Some time ago, I appeared before the planning board and the zoning board, and we were given permission to add another 3,000 square feet, giving excess of 5,000 square feet on the premises so they could store the alcohol, store all the convenience store items, and rather than having trucks coming in and out, everything can be self-contained in that area, and there certainly would be no elbow banging into anyone else because of the large amount of retail space and storage space that they have. In addition to that, they also have on-site parking, more than sufficient parking, and we've vetted that through the planning board, where they can park all the cars they want in the side, the front, and the rear of the store if need be. So parking's not an issue. For that reason, I think it's the most attractive site that will be coming before you. The second aspect that I think is equally important to the physical location is the ownership in the applicants themselves. These individuals have been in the full alcohol liquor business for a number of years. They have interest in facilities in Cape Cod, Harwichport. They've run them all without any incident, high commendation from the communities that they're in, and they know how to serve the people, they know how to present, and they know how to monitor so it's free and clear from any type of infractions, which they have not had, or legal issues. They are quite capable in having run full alcohol establishments for a number of years, and Brockton would just be an additional one that they could smoothly transition into. So the city would be secure and comfortable that the operators here would be doing it at the highest level that this city would expect, because we don't want any infractions in all alcohol stores. It would run a very clean operation, which they've exhibited with their other stores, and you have more than sufficient parking, more than sufficient space, and more than capable and qualified applicants. So for those reasons, we ask you to look at this favorably, and we'll be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, I'm going to call for the public hearing first. Pros and cons, and then I'll open it up to you folks. All right. The time having come for the public hearing, anyone here in favor of the petitioner? Anyone here in favor of the petitioner? Seeing none, I close that portion. Anyone here in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, I close that portion of the hearing. Members?
So the 3,000 square feet that we're at, is that in the existing building now, or
No.
is that proposed?
It's proposed, but not only proposed, it's been granted to by the city. It went through zoning, went through planning. We are just starting the developmental stage of that.
Okay, so I don't know where these plans were given to us, so is that 3,000 included in what this layout is for the area?
It's on the premises, and it's adjoining the existing store that's there now.
Yes, we were handed, I'm just trying to figure out if the 3K is in this, or if it's also an addition to this.
May I see that?
Yes.
This shows the interior. It's in addition to this.
So, in addition to that proposed where your spare to be sold, there's also an additional 3,000, and was that going to be included in that total or?
I see.
So I was trying to understand what the actual square footage would be of the layout.
The whole thing?
Yes.
It'd be 5,300 square feet.
Okay, so it's included in that.
Right.
How will this impact the current parking when this is developed?
Because we went through that with the planning, but we have availability all in the rear, we have it in the front, and we have it on both sides. So we're gonna lay out the parking spaces, and we went through those, the enumerations with the planning board to show how the parking will be more than sufficient for the square footage that's there.
So what would the number, your current number, go from now to what would it be reduced to?
Increase to, you mean?
So you're adding parking from what you currently have?
That's correct. We're gonna have over 40 spaces.
40.
Are you getting more land? How are you adding a property?
Well, we have the whole property in the rear that we never utilized, and we have it on the sides.
Okay, 'cause when I drove by there, I didn't see. All right.
And we're trying to do it in such a way, too, we want to keep all the green space, and
That's what I was trying to understand, because there's no setbacks. I don't see, like, I don't know what your proposed layout would be of the actual, once this develops, so that's what I was trying to
well,
understand.
again,
parking.
what I can represent to you, the fact that we did successfully go through the planning board, and that was scrutinized, so there is sufficient parking based on the fact that we were granted permission from planning and zoning.
Okay.
Because there were two things that they looked at microscopically. One, if we had sufficient parking, and secondly, what the drainage was and things of that nature that planning gets involved in. And they granted unanimously acceptance on those.
And now, for the existing building, are there any plans for renovations to that? Or is it just going to be,
No, I don't think there's any plans to renovate the existing building.
okay, so it'd be the proposed building, parking lot development, and existing would stay the way it is. What about the signage, any of that? I'm just trying to get a full picture of what would be entailed in this.
As far as what, when you say the signage?
Well, when I was by there today, the sign at the front of the property is in need of some repair. It was, interior-wise, it looked like there was a couple of roof leaks. So I was just, you were talking about cleanliness. So I
Well,
was trying to
they're
understand.
gonna remediate the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing it to signage, because it's really not within the purview of the license commission on the physical real estate. But for what they're expending to develop this thing, they're gonna make the signage look attractive. They're gonna change the beer and wine, et cetera, et cetera. And that there I explained before zoning, but we didn't make any preparations to do it before license, because again, it's usually not one of the factors we get into with the license commission. But for people that expend that type of money, it's like having a new suit and crappy shoes. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna lay out the whole thing. So
That's
it's
why I'm
fair
asking.
question.
That's
fair
why I'm
question.
asking.
Yeah, fair question.
I'm good.
I'm just going to be, before I yield to the lieutenant, are we going to be receiving something about the parking so we can see?
We'll give you the finished parking plans from and the reason why you haven't done that is because we're still dealing with the the land contour because of the water runoff, and, you know, I didn't want to make several different sets of plans. But again, I think it's important to reiterate, planning board and zoning were satisfied that we would have enough parking. Otherwise, that was the main issue, that we have parking when we're increasing square footage of use. And they're satisfied with that.
We're here to Lieutenant.
Thank you. Lieutenant Bernard?
I conducted an inspection on the 18th. For this location, there were no violations and no complaints. I did speak with one of the applicants. Currently, I believe they were going to be placing if they were granted the license, temporarily behind the counter where they have tobacco products, move that. And then at some point, they were going to increase their building size, which would be to tear a wall down and then expand with with additional space, which would be over the green space. I'm not sure where the parking how that would increase if they're going to be taking over the, what I would say would be the green space. I'm not sure where there would be additional parking would be involved. But as far as the building size, that's how it was explained to me by the applicant how that would increase would be to tear a wall down and then add additional space. But as far as further that, we don't have any objection. The police department doesn't have objections because there's no violations or complaints with the address.
Thank you. I just, and this is for my clarification, so currently, if a license is granted, you're just going to use basically one wall to put full liquor in until you do the addition on, and then basically be redesigning your entire store.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? No? All right, I close this hearing. Thank you, and again,
Thank
we'll
you.
vote individually at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Actually, I'll do that now because the next one doesn't have a, Mark and Attorney Nazarella, briefly? Phil? Just a question to just a question that should have been asked is what are the proponents going to do with their current beer and wine licenses if granted?
I assume they're going to merge it into,
They're separate licenses.
They're separate.
It's a separate license.
Boston won't even act on an all alcoholic unless it's turned into the city.
I thought the change of category kind of enhanced it by.
No, that license has to come back to the city. We can't put it into Boston with both, because they won't take the application. So they either have to keep one or take the other, so they have to
You mean
return it.
if an all alcohol
Is
license is
granted to
then the beer and wine would
the
be
beer and
forfeit.
wine has to come back to the city.
Right. I don't know if forfeit's the word, but it would be given
Yeah.
back to the city. It's an exchange.
Doesn't make any sense, that whole rule. It's like a circular firing squad. You know, you get one, you shoot down the other.
The only thing I can see is the potential of it being sold or transferred to somebody else.
Oh.
Yeah.
That would be without researching it off the top of my head.
Well,
I think they'd want to make sure that, you know, that
Is it
it's
a
coming back.
simultaneous issue? Meaning,
This
one
is
issue?
a new territory for us too. It only happens after the census is done every 10 years. So we're all in gray territory for what happened in the past.
yeah. Well, I mean, I would clearly follow whatever the legal avenue options are. If we have to churn it in, we would do that, but the primary objective would be get the all alcohol, and then we would deal with beer and wine later on. But if we can't have the cake and eat it too, then we'd do whatever we had to do. We'd have a choice in that.
It doesn't seem like there's a conflict in the procedure. So
I think it's the,
you just don't want to put the cart before the horse.
correct, but once it's granted for the process, the city probably wants to know whether it's going to have a license for a new proponent, or is the city going to deal with a current holder transferring to another business?
We hadn't given that any thought. We thought it was a merger of the license.
Correct, so that's a concern, yeah. So,
And Erica can look into it, but
yeah.
yeah.
I'll look into it and, you know.
Certainly the goal, though, is to have an all alcohol.
Right, but,
Because it really doesn't lay that out in any of the rules or regulations. You don't see that.
and again, that's the issue, Counselor, is that, you know, the city, it's attempting to protect the city's interests too at this time, so.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, thank you.
And those people, though, if that, just to have this discussion that hasn't been considered, those people would have to go through the same process anyway, I'm sure.
Well, they would have to, but we couldn't start the process if, the city would like to know what's going to happen with the current licenses being held. But we'll have our legal people look into it too, but.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Again, it's new territory for all of us. All right. Hearing on the request from Montello Package LLC, manager Ricky De Silva makes application for an all-alcoholic beverage package store license at 1115 North Montello Street, Brockton, Mass. Petitioner's here. Wherever you,
I'm just gonna,
you're gonna, okay, that's fine.
that way it won't fall on anybody. I'll move around.
So again, give your names and addresses for the record, please.
Attorney Jose Centella, I'm with the Boston law firm of Nathanson and Goldberg. And with me here is Ricky De Silva, who is the manager of Montello LLC. You can have a seat. Tonight is a unique role that I'm playing. I've been here many times for many years. And he's my sister's son, and I'm the godfather. And my family is huge. There were 4,000 people when I had my child. He became the godfather of my son. And why? Because he's one of the hardest workers that I saw. The same face as my father and the grandparents and so forth. So that's why I gave him the godson of my child. So that's my role that I'm playing here. I don't know if it's a lawyer or a family or a friend, but it's all of the above. What you have before you is a unique location. It is 1115 North Montello Street. This is what it looks like today. Can everybody see it? It's a nice shore. There's nothing going on there. It's just an abandoned building. It does have a lot of land and a lot of potential. You have plenty of land to the left. You have land on the front and land on the side. So what our proposal is, he is going to borrow some money for part of the rehab. He also is going to put a lot of cash into it, and he's also going to put a lot of cash with the inventory once this is all done. You have with the application that I informed him to submit we have an engineer and an architect plan. The location right now is 1 story, 1 floor. It has about 60 square feet on the first floor, and it has a basement of about 1,500 square feet. The proposal of the engineering was done by a local person that I've used in the past many times. He's doing the engineering plans for the city of Brockton, and he's great to work with. And we also have an architect that did the rendering of the parking space. The parking spaces, as you can see on the plan that was submitted with the application, I don't know if you all have it, it will have 21 parking spaces, including 2 handicap that would be in the front. The description of the building is going to be, if I can find the existing drawing, we're going to convert it, it'll be major. We're going to keep the dimensions of the building. Is going to be kept, so it will stay. The current existing is 1,700 square feet. It's going to maintain like that. But what we're going to do, there'll be an entrance on the front and then an exit on the right, because the cashier register will be here in an office. And here is just going to be area there. The handicap will be the first 2 spaces next to the entrance. And then you'll have parking spaces on the other side. And then you'll have parking spaces to the right. And right now, where the parking space is, it's being used for garbage. I don't know if it's trucks that are there. As you can see, the parking, that's where it's being utilized at the present time. He has the approval by the Brockton Planning Board with the architectural plans and the engineer's plan. That was done. Huh? Zoning board, and those have been done. This is another section, a side rendering of the project, what it would look like. This is what the architect has done. The signage is going to be moved because they were told that it needed to move, but also wanted to show you the real lot of landscape. The landscape is going to flow to the front of it, in between the two entrances. There'll be two entrances. You can go in and out of there, in and out of there, plenty of spot. You'll also have some landscape there, and some landscape towards the end of that parking lot. So you'll have a lot of greenery in the front here and so forth. It will be very well lit, and the signage will be, has been approved. It'll be moved, I forgot how many feet, by the zoning board. So that's going to be the way it's going to look like, and I'll keep that up there if anybody wants to look at it. I'm trying to see what the other. So the interior is also going to be very modern. Like I said at the beginning, there will be an entrance here. The exit will be right here. This is the checkout counter. The office of delivery will be on the side because that's where the radius of any trucks that comes in, 18-wheelers, they will be able to easily make the turning radius in and out of that parking lot without any difficulty. So that will put on that side. Then you'll have the coolers up here, and then you have storage up here, even without having to go to the basement, but he has the lease to use both the first floor as well as the basement. So this gives a better idea of what the setup would look like. But it was designed so they could just flow and go around. So we will not have a problem with the turning radius because the front right now, there's no curb cut. It's just a parking area. There's nothing there. But it will be done in accordance with the building planning code. Just a little bit briefly, I know you have a busy night. Ricky the Silver started a construction company. Let me even go before then, and you all are going to ask the question, hey, do you have any experience with running the liquor store? Yes, he has he's been an architect. He used to run the Gillette, the club, and in the club he was the manager and also did inventory, so he is familiar. He did that full time for 6 years plus. He's also worked at other places as a bartender, he's a licensed tips, and he's familiar with the management of the club at Gillette Stadium and also doing inventory and ordering products for the club. So he's familiar. But in addition to that, he also has friends in the business, and one of them that was sitting next to me is John Barrows, and probably say a thing or two of how he's going to come in and show him around. But you all are also familiar. I do have a couple of the big liquor store owners in Brockton that will also come in to help him get started and out of order. He's going to operate in a first-class system. I've done a few people in Brockton. I said, you got to get the top cash register. You got to do the lighting and everything in the top corner, alarm system, and the video cameras and everything will be installed professionally done. And that's going to be done in first class system. So not only people will be tested if you come in with a fake ID, expensive cash register will be able to help in the system. Now, what has he been done besides serving as a bartender in the past? He's been in construction, doing single, multi-families. He rehabs them, tears it down and rebuilds. And he's done most of them in Brockton area. He has done one rehab for the city of Brockton in the past. And what he does is he converts these dilapidated homes and makes it into beautiful. He had it on the phone. I told him to show the bigger mansions he's done. He apparently liked this one here. So this is the one he did. So this is what he does. He builds and he talks to the town officials and what needs to be done with the building inspector. I've told him that. You got to talk to all of the people on the licensing board on how to get it done and get it done right in the first time. So this location here, 1150 North Montello Street, as I like to drive to all my facilities, it's right at the border of the Avon. And in the back of that, if you cross the road, if you go further, there's Hobo. So this is what's going to be done with this dilapidated facility right now. After you do the landscape, the parking lot, and you rebuild the house, he has a 5-year lease, but we're also trying to negotiate to buy it from the owner because he has no plans. If that could be done, it would be even better. That's the primary goal. We have a lease in place, but it's also to own the facility. So then we would not be afraid to spend even a lot more on it if we become new. With that said, this is going to serve promote the public needs of the community and also serve the interests of the communities around this area. You have Avon right next door, you have Brockton, and you have Hope Road. So this is a beautiful facility, a location, and it's all commercial spaces in that area. I did not see any liquor stores unless you go further down to the and so forth are coming up. We do have Stop and Shop a little bit further up. I don't know if they have the beer and wine license. I haven't gone in that aspect of that. So it's an area that needs a lot of work because that's the Brockton side. There's a lot of commercial developments that are needed in that specific location. This is a great way to start and improve this eyesore that's currently there at the present time. And that's my presentation.
I'll open up the hearing and then we'll stay with the same. Time's come for the public hearing. All those in favor? Anyone here in favor? If so, come forward and give us your name and address.
Sure. Hi, John Barrows from 97 Napontet Alley in Milton, Massachusetts. Formerly of Brockton, I grew up on Kaziri Court, to St. Edward's. I've known Ricky my whole life, and my family's been in the liquor business for 35 years, off-premise and on-premise. I currently own and operate Gigi's Liquors in Dorchester since 1999. So anything that he needs as far as day-to-day operations, setting up with wholesalers, I can take care of all that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we also have Minas Rodriguez. Minas, like I said, when you first came to the hospital, when I met him, I was like, I don't know, my son is not 19. They both came to the hospital to see me to do with the medicine, and they lived together. They built a house together right now, and they've been together ever since. Both of them are going to be working together. They've been together all those years. So both are going to be working there. He's going to be the primary manager, and he's going to slow down so he's getting too old for the construction. He wants to slow down the liquor.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will have one more person.
Did you get that? Counselor, I'm sorry I didn't see you back there.
Good evening, Shirley Azak, Ward 7 City Councilor. I am here as the ward councilor, and I was present at the zoning meeting when Mr. Silva presented the plans. And yes, this is a dilapidated building. It's an area that really needs to be revitalized as it's an entrance to our city. So it's exciting to see, nice plans, and Mr. Silva's done great things, and his work shows great things. But you guys are in a tough situation, I know that. And I see amazing businesses here, but I have to, as a Ward 7 City Councilor, I think Ward 7 would be lucky to have a really beautiful new building at the entrance of Untitled.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you. Anyone else here in favor? Seeing none, I close that portion of the hearing. Anyone in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, I close that portion of the hearing. Commissioners? Questions?
So, I see you have a 5-year lease.
Yep.
I didn't see any options. I know it's only an LOI, but are you trying to get options, and do you have a right of first?
He's informed me to start the negotiations and see about purchasing the building. He's got a couple of homes that are under a contract to close in a couple of months, and he would like to transfer that money to the acquisition of the building. He's giving me the contact of the landlord and so forth, and the good news is the contact is also from my hometown, so hopefully I can see what his plans are. He owns also in the back, so but that's the goal, to try to become. Okay. If we can't get it, then we will extend the lease for an option to do 5-5 and make sure that the money we spend there to do the investment, we need that at least 10-year lease. That's why I started slowly. I want to get him to buy the premises.
But there's as of right now,
5-year lease.
It's no options, just a 5-year lease.
5-year lease, but he's told me to start the negotiation. Okay. On the purchase.
So I've gone by the plans look beautiful. What you plan to do in the back of the property? Do you plan on doing it? I mean, if you're gonna do the front, are you gonna be putting up a fence?
So the back of the property sits right on the property line. I'm sure you noticed. Yep. If you go around the block, it's almost like a retaining wall almost. Yeah. So I'm gonna be doing some structural work. That's why there's such extensive rehab budget to it. We'll probably be spending somewhere around $500,000 on that, and that part of the foundation work in the back is part of it. But that actually also helps too, because I will be using 1,500 square feet in the basement. So if the truck was able to go and also load in the baseline, it would also help if there was another access point.
Okay. Land-wise, are you doing, I mean, other than repaving, are you doing anything? I saw you do the green space.
It's the whole lot, by the way. It consisted of that where the existing building sits. You have properties on the left, in the front, and on the side. So that whole.
Exterior. My question is, so are you doing, because you brought up the renovation budget. So are you doing any land work where you might have to excavate anything or remove soil just because of the type of use that's currently there?
Because most of the parking lot right now is all asphalt. So what I'll be doing is just cutting out some of the asphalt to add to the green space.
Okay.
Probably have to put some curbing up there, some granite curbing. But other than that, the asphalt is just gonna be, I'm gonna fill in the holes, and then I'll do a seal coating to give it a nice fresh look.
Okay, so patch, okay.
And then parking space lines, and also we'll be moving the sign down 10 feet away from the street.
And I know you mentioned lighting.
Yes.
That's a different, I know it's not gonna be included in the rendering. Is there a lighting plan?
Yeah, no LEDs, no LEDs, and we'll be lighting the front side and the front doors. I don't have it on the plans, but that's something, I would get to once I would be.
I always tell my clients that for safety reasons, the more cameras you put on inside and outside, the better for your patrons and for everybody. And that's with all my Brockton clients. I make sure that they do that every project that we do, there's plenty of, you got to post all of these lighting back here. And City of Brockton likes when you put the exterior light that you put on a hat. I know there is no residents here, but we do it like that to please the community so that way nobody would object. But there will be lighting, there'll be cameras. And the company that does it, I can introduce them to them. They do most of the work in the City of Brockton.
Yeah, it's quite a big parking lot, so a lot of parking spaces.
But you need to put the light, yeah.
Definitely have them illuminated.
Because when they go in to install the cameras, they want to make sure that it picks up people coming in and people in the inside. It's the same alarm system company that does all of that.
And it's not related to this, but just for your own knowledge, there might be a typo on your LOI because they have the lease term expiring in August 2017.
I saw that.
2017?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I made him to change it.
There's two contracts in there. They both have them.
No, just you.
Lease and then there's
I didn't go through the lease. I went through your LOI.
Oh no, I did the lease. I told them forget the LOI. The LOI doesn't work for me.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that was a typo on that one as well. That was generated from the owner's agent.
I requested the lease just so you know that that's when I got started. There is a lease.
I'll yield.
Any questions I had were asked and answered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Lieutenant Panaka.
I conducted an inspection on the 18th, and of course, as you can see, the building currently is in disarray, which obviously the plans are impressive, and the police department does not have any issues with the applicant. My only issue is that in that Route 28 corridor, the posted speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and it's a 4-lane section. So I think there needs to be a consultation with the traffic commissioner before this is approved. And my concern with that is the fact that when you're traveling northbound, this is on the same side as the northbound traffic, and this certainly wouldn't be an issue, but when you're traveling southbound at 40 miles an hour, and then you've got to turn and cross 2 lanes in order to get into the parking lot. Not to say there aren't other businesses on that same also side, which is such as Domino's, but I think this business is going to have more of a, obviously more people stopping in as opposed to, let's say, a delivery business like Domino's. The nearest traffic lights are over at Stop and Shop, which is further south. So I don't have an issue with the applicant, but our preference is that maybe the traffic commissioner should be consulted, because I think this corridor, this 40-mile-an-hour 4-lane section, I believe can be hazardous for a business of this magnitude, and that's where the police department stands.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Gentlemen, are you all set? All right. I close this portion of the hearing then.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like you're in another world down there, Commissioners. At this time, if you want to discuss each of them together, this is strictly between us at this point. If you want to discuss the pros and cons of them, or if you're comfortable with the way it's gone, and you wish to bring them to a vote, it's really up to you. There's three commissioners here. To everyone that's in attendance, a simple majority of 2 to 1 is all it takes to win the license or get the license. So I just wanted to be clear with what the vote entails. So what is your pleasure, gentlemen?
Yeah, do we, it's whether have a discussion now, or are you comfortable with making a vote?
I've heard everything was applied very good.
So for me, there's 2 pending items. I mean, so there's 2 open items right now that would impact would impact my votes. The traffic and also the parking for, just the layout. We were told that the parking is going to increase for the Pleasant Street location. And based on the footprint, I don't see how that would increase and increase green space. So there is a plan for that. If we had that plan, we have the response from the traffic committee. If they didn't, what their belief would be on proposed location of Montello package. With that, then you have a full picture.
To our attorney, there are outstanding questions that cannot be answered. Is it within our realm to postpone the final vote until a date certain, or is it required to vote on them individually tonight?
I think, certainly, if that was to happen, I think you need to, the entire vote would need to be, certainly
It would, yeah.
stayed until, what is the issue?
Well, we just recommended that we talk to the traffic. So, I mean, I couldn't in good conscience then vote and say, if all of a sudden they are against that location because of traffic concerns.
I think if it was the decision of the commission to get further review, I think it would have to be on all licenses, so you can make an informed decision together, since there's one license left.
It would, my understanding is we would not take any votes on anything if we were looking for more information. It would be a vote to postpone only.
Can you give me 1 second so I can just take a quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, give me 1 second, just so I can take.
We're going to take a 5 minute.
That's fine, yes.
5 minute. We're out of session for 5 minutes.
So, looking at the 3 options we have, I would say inventory-wise, they have the least amount of space to store spirits, and they would also have the hardest time with patrons who want to park there.
The second one is Debbie's Convenience Store on Pleasant Street. Currently, it looks to me like it's a small market with beer and wine business. We're talking about putting an addition on, increasing their size to do a full liquor license if obtained. it would have been good, as was brought up in the meeting, if we could have seen an outside rendering of the space and the usage of the space. The egresses.
So they're similar in size to Petty Market currently. Similar setup. They have household goods in the center of the store. It's probably a little bit smaller of a footprint right now. The proposed addition, it would be, but again, we don't know when that would take place, how that would impact the rest of the lot. I understand that is the plan, but as it is right now, it's similar to Petty Market.
And the third is the Montello package store, which to me is a total rebuild from a closed facility right now.
I agree with you there. Based on the plans that we saw, that did have the aesthetically, there was more proposed outside. There also is no other, except for maybe Santos, but that is a commercial area. There are proposed that spot.
Commissioner Stefanski, anything you want to? You're comfortable?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Lieutenant, any last input?
The first two businesses, I mean, certainly it depends on the commissioners. The final applicant, although it would be optimal to rehab a building that would be an eyesore, unfortunately with the 4 lanes and the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, I think that would be a problem for traffic from the opposing side to be crossing over the lanes. So that would be up to the commissioners, but I think that's a concern, a matter of concern. That's it.
All right. Anything else that anyone wants to add? Or? Okay. Let's begin the voting.
You want a motion on all of them at the same time?
Hearing on the request of CM Petty Market Incorporated, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Motion.
Second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve. All those in favor? All those opposed? 1 favor, 2 opposed. Hearing on the request from Aori Sahil Corporation, Debbie's Market, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I will make a motion to approve that.
Seconding his motion to approve?
Oh, I beg your pardon, I couldn't hear him. Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Chief, can you hear me, Chief?
I'm
Okay. That was 0 to 3. Hearing on request from Montello Package Store LLC manager, LLC. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. On the motion, gentlemen, I have concerns as the lieutenant does. I think I would ask that the motion be made to require notifying the traffic commissioner and for input if it gets its vote.
Second thought.
I can't make it, so would you?
So,
On your motion?
make a motion, make it contingent upon traffic Control,
Traffic Commission.
Traffic Commission.
Motion was properly made. Second?
Could I ask, could the chairman read that out to me so I can hear it?
Yes, yes.
You know, he's turned away from it.
A motion has been made to approve the Montello Package LLC contingent upon the input from the Traffic Commission.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, 3-0.
3 in favor?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.